All right, so now we are back with our legal correspondent, I believe, from now on, Kam, your company. So tell us what has happened what's the latest in the legal debacles caused by Elizabeth Holmes and her minions or whatever. What's going on? Tell us.
Well, that was my disclaimer and that was one of my two disclaimers in the video that I made is that A, I don't know much about law, and B, I'm getting most of my information from this one podcast. But
Hey,
actually,
pause.
yeah.
I don't know much about law. A. B. I don't know much about correspondence. C. I'm just okay. Yeah,
But
go
having
ahead.
said that, having put those disclaimers out, the latest, which I will hopefully do a video on, is that they're giving their final arguments right now. So the case is over, and they've even finished giving both sides giving their final
How
arguments.
do
So we're gonna
I
know
know I
soon the verdict, and I'm
uh,
gonna listen to them hopefully and get back to you with what those are. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
I watched two of your three videos on it, which, by the way, shows our level of commitment to our own channel that we don't even check out our own video. We're like, yeah, there's a Matt Taibbi video. I'd rather it's from like 4 years ago. Sorry, but yeah,
I don't blame
but yeah, fair enough. No, but I got what the vibe I got was that you were somewhat positive on her defense team, that they did a good job considering the situation.
you.
But is
And
that fair enough? And I don't know.
yes, kinda, because listen, I mean, first thing to mention is that as you've said before, I said it. Usually, you don't put the person being defended, on the stand because then you're open to cross-examination. But I think the evidence is just so ridiculously, overwhelmingly on the other side. They went with let's humanize this person, and she's skilled at talking, at presenting her side and everything. So they tried doing that. And they presented a few things, and one of them really even has nothing with the case. It's this horrible thing that she says happened to her while she was still in university in her last year. And I don't want to mention it. People can go watch another video because then it can demonetize the whole podcast. So they just did that, which had really not to do with anything, but maybe some people will feel bad for her. And I think that could help. Maybe some of the jury will feel bad for her because she also defrauded, like, who cares, she defrauded Murdoch and Betsy DeVos and all this. So I'm thinking they want to put all of this together and be like, do you guys really
What's
want to
the
put this poor girl who just had a baby, because she also got pregnant when the trial started,
that
do you
feels
really
like
want to
planned
put?
though.
Yeah, 100%, I'm guessing that's the case. So they're just kind
Oh,
of going for this angle, and then they're trying to make it seem like she was this girl who got into this relationship with this really powerful businessman, almost 20 years her age, who sculpted her and made her into the person she is. But in the video I discussed, and actually I have one question for you, which is such a stretch, because even now when they ask her, when she's being cross-examined and stuff, she doesn't say, I really messed up, I was controlled
mm.
and all this. She's like, oh no, I should have done this differently. Oh yeah, we didn't handle that process correctly. But yeah, to come back to your question, they tried to humanize her as much as possible. I don't buy one of the things has nothing to do with it. The other ones is just to say that she was being controlled by this guy. But then there was text messages and emails that really don't add up. And as many people have pointed out, being in a toxic relationship is no excuse for, you can't get out of saying I did this or that. Maybe in some cases you can link them. But in the
No,
third
if you're
video that,
coerced, it's a
yeah,
whole
in
different
course, yeah,
story.
exactly. If you reach
If you're
that point,
coerced, it's
but they didn't. And actually, this I mentioned in the video. Her own defense team asked her, so did Sonny, the other person who was her old boyfriend, did he make you say this? Did he make you say that? Did he make you lie to investors? To all, she said no. And in the podcast I was listening, that's a tactic that they wanted to get ahead of this, because they didn't want then the cross-examiner, the prosecutor, to come and ask these questions. And then it's like, so you did everything. So even she's admitting that it wasn't coerced. But finally, in the last video that you didn't watch, there's one thing that came out. that I think is actually relevant, which is she forged 3 documents, right, that we know of, right? One is Pfizer, one is by someone else, where she pretty much took this internal report made with maybe a little bit of their input and stuff, but then changed the text and put their logos on all the pages. And apparently at the end we find out
Like the
that
type
she
of
even,
shit I would do
yeah, but then she
to
shared
to
these
get out of.
documents with Pfizer apparently. So Pfizer apparently had seen this forged document, which makes you question
sense.
a lot of things out there. And they were
Yeah.
like, and according to her, they were completely fine with it. So I mean, that one really
Uh,
hit me. I
uh,
mean, if I was on the jury, I was like, so I mean, let's either prosecute her or prosecute 50 people and put them all up. That one was one relevant piece of detail that really came out, which I was blown away. But then again, in the other video, I mentioned that, Pfizer's a big company and she's such a liar. Who did they share it with? Was it this one executive who saw it in his email, or did it go to the proper team? You know what I mean? Like, Pfizer is not one person sitting
one
in an
guy,
office.
yeah.
You want
What was the
exactly.
responsible person saw
So
the
who
email
was
and
it
all
and
that?
all that? But that was like a big one because the forged documents are, of course, the most obvious kind of thing. I mean, I
Well,
remember
that's
as a kid,
illegal.
I put my mom's
But
signature when I was
that's
7 on this like test that I had to show her, and
yeah.
like I still remember. It's still bad. So there's no
Oh,
excuse for a 22-year-old to forge, or 20,
I
maybe
remember.
even 30
I
year old.
in Iran they score you out of 20, kind of like France, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I got a 9 one time, and they put these things to make sure it's a 9. It's not
Yeah.
we don't make it like some 9. So I went and I put a 1 and it connected it to the thing. I did really well and it became 19. So
Oh,
it's fantastic.
wow. I
Which
still
tell
remember how mine happened. And the teacher asked, like, did you get your thing signed? And I just said, yeah. And the teacher didn't check it. And she did not check the sig.
nice.
I still remember I was 7. That's crazy.
Oh,
But
yeah, that's what happened. Like the problem for me was I couldn't fake the signature. I had to show my parents I didn't get 9 out of
yeah,
20.
no, I get yours.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Was it the
Yeah.
reverse situation?
So,
But
maybe we should be also charged. And yeah, I have a question for
yeah,
you that's
I
kind
mean,
of a hunch that I went on one thing. I don't know if you have something to say. If not,
no,
I
no,
can
no,
ask
go
you
ahead.
that, which is, going back to her blaming that this sunny guy turned her into the person that she is. She says that he would say the meanest things, like, you're weak, you're never going to be successful like this. If you want to become successful, throw away that personality of yours and become, this who she is, kind of, right? Which I guess I
Make your
wonder if the
voice go
yeah,
deeper.
exactly, and all this. But
Wash technique. No, sorry.
exactly, exactly. But these two met while Elizabeth, in her first year of Stanford, I guess, was doing a semester in China to learn Chinese, to improve her Chinese. And her Chinese was like really good and stuff, right? So, this gave me the thing that, no, being this kind of
How old
type
was
of,
she?
she was 18 or 19, 18 or 19, because she was just at Stanford for 1 year. So I'm assuming she was 18,
No,
19.
just
Then she
some people
drops
go
out.
to university later, take a gap year. That's why I
Oh,
asked.
no, no.
Sorry,
This was
sorry.
very in the beginning, I believe. Yeah.
All
So
right. Okay.
she went there to like improve her Chinese and stuff. So I have 2 things that this made me think. One is that, okay, no, you yourself were kind of, thinking of how to become this kind of, entrepreneur, business person. So, just saying that you wanted to become, I don't know, a social worker, and then this guy came and turned you into entrepreneur. Social workers don't want to
I
go
was
learn
saving
Chinese.
children in
Yeah,
Ghana, and you pulled me
exactly.
out. Yes.
Exactly. I haven't heard too many who want to learn Chinese. But the second one that's kind of really has nothing to do with Elizabeth Holmes is, now that the image, at least based on my perception, has changed towards China, I wonder if it's still a thing for like American entrepreneurs or inspiring entrepreneurs to want to learn Chinese with the hopes of, with the idea of China is where business is to be done, China is where money is supposed to be done. So I wonder if this, idea of learning Chinese. Because even when I was in university, I think in the early stages, 2008 and stuff, that was still a thing. I'd heard of a couple of people who like wanted to go to China and learn Chinese. So I really wonder if these kind of liberal slash capitalist circles, entrepreneur circles, have you ever thought of this? If it's still a
I
thing to learn Chinese,
I
does this
think
thing I'm saying make sense?
yeah, but I think you're wrong. I think you will continue to see a
Mhm.
rise of that trend as I because I see increasing, for example, Chinese tourism is clearly increasing everywhere. It's like everywhere I go to, and I go to a lot of touristy sort of hot spots or whatever, like Georgia. It was crazy, man. You
Oh,
see so
but
many, you
that
know,
I
well,
agree in
well,
that sense.
and increasingly you're going to see people from the west or
Mhm.
from countries like ours, not west but not east, whatever, developing world, like in China, in India, until quite recently the biggest tech investor was a Chinese firm. So even countries like
Oh,
India, who are sort of posing as a sort of as against China, you will see an increase, sort of the pool of people who are automatically, we're all going to American sort of an English language, is going to be more split, I think.
no, that I totally agree. But I meant more like, someone like Elizabeth Holmes. Do you think like Americans are still into,
Well,
because there's all this
someone like
backlash now with, right, with doing business as an American, doing kind of business with China. You just have to watch the news like the past 2 years, all these Hollywood movies and stuff, they were saying all this kind of stuff.
no, I don't. If you, in fact, Hollywood movies are actually one of the better
They're
examples
doing
that you can
well.
show the hypocrisy. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
about like they re-edit their films for Chinese market. They blah blah blah.
but they
They
get
are
a
still
backlash in CNN and like MSNBC and things, I think. Yeah.
yeah, but it's not a real backlash, and
Mhm. Yeah,
it's.
it's
I mean,
bullshit.
we'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe it becomes real. We'll see.
Mhm.
Maybe it becomes real. But I think for now the trend is very much, and I would call Elizabeth Holmes somebody kind of like middle class, global, could travel to a different country to study. So she's not necessarily she's not somebody who came from St. Louis and sort of
Yeah.
pulled herself by her boots. No, she
But she
may
did
have
this
done, but I
13,
mean, she
14
came
years
to that.
ago, which the
Oh,
anti-China
well,
sentiment has really, it feels to me like it has the
but that's like
official
the last few
version.
years.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about right now. Do you think like right now and going forward, people would kind of still do that? It just kind of made me wonder, if Elizabeth Holmes was going to do that now, would she still be so inclined in learning Chinese? I wonder if that's still
No, but I
a
don't.
thing.
I mean, she would go for what's the hot trend
Yeah,
of the day is, like most people probably. Yeah, I
yeah.
agree with you there. But
But
I
otherwise, I
remember
totally
when I was
agree.
a kid, Japanese was like big.
Mm.
When I was very young, like you would have like young people, or German is still quite a big one. But I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to comment. What is your do you? So I sort of think you're sort of half-heartedly don't agree with her that she was coerced and
It
all
just
that, I
doesn't
guess,
add
right?
up. I mean, the craziest one is this one is crazy. I mean, I put it in the title of the video, had another boyfriend. She said that Sunny Balwani would like, whenever her parents would come and all this, she'd be like, oh, don't hang out with your parents, don't hang out with your friends. He was this all controlling guy. And then apparently she had another boyfriend on the side, which she called not a formal relationship for the last 4 years that she was with him. And then, for instance, when
Did you
when she
know?
did,
Was this some weird, like they were both
that's
honest?
the thing. In the video, I used the word open, and now I'm kind of not sure if he was not aware. But regardless of whether she hid it or
Partially
not,
open.
yeah, whether
She
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 hid it or
told
not,
others.
she was able to do it. And she didn't in the podcast, nothing came out like, oh no, he wasn't aware of that. I was like really sneaking behind your back. And then she also got rid of him when she wanted. And there's
How
so
old is
many
she now?
like, and now she's like 35 or
Okay.
something, I think 33, 4, 5 or
So
something
yeah,
like this. And
I think
she was in an unbalanced relationship, and the stuff that they were saying to each other are crazy in the text messages. I mean, maybe not even unbalanced, in a weird one. So I'm sure he influenced her, but to the point that he made her do all this. The
no.
company was her idea, and there were a lot of other people who also went along with her bullshit. So That is all true. And this guy, he's getting his own trial. He's not getting away. And the fact that they separated the two of them is because she claimed the abuse stuff from the get-go. So this guy is not like a good character, and he's not a sympathetic character in the middle of all this. Far from it. But blaming it all on him just doesn't go too far. And that's been their whole tactic. Everything is blamed on others. Oh, yes, I was the CEO, but my head of lab didn't tell me that this was like this. Oh, and for instance, she lied because they broke up after this big investigation of her lab, which before that she claimed that she thought they had one of the best labs out there. And then there are, of course, text messages of Sunny Balwani telling her this is not going well. They're coming up. Apparently, the CMS checked them, which is like a special lab thing. The same reports as the FDA were saying are not are coming up again. And this is where the religious thing comes again. He's like, pray for us. And she's like, I'm praying so hard.
That's, yeah, it does. I think in a way, though, I think maybe not to be, I don't want to be charitable to her, but I think in her head, she probably thinks it's his fault, because I think our generation and a bit older than us generation, we grew up in a world where we are told things and we do them, and then we just gets fucked, like, and then we are, and then there is usually no repercussions, if you live in the West and all that. You fuck up and you go back to your parents for a while, and then you go back, you grift a bit, and then you fuck up, and you come up with ideas. You come up. No, of course, I'm not talking about probably even majority of people, but I'm talking about the trend that is very, that you fuck up, you come up with the idea that I want to go to the moon, and there will be like Elon Musk, I remember calling about fucking loop thingies between San Francisco and LA to do, just and then your stock market goes up because some people go, and then nothing means anything. But I just, my personal view is, to be honest, for like above 16 or 18, depending on the jurisdiction or country, I personally think 16 is a good age. Just look, I think most people until their age of 80, they can say whatever they did is really rooted in how their parents treated them, right? That's a very fair, like I am the way my dad raised me up, But at some point in your life, which I think 16 or 18 is good, you should think that, that was the case, that my parents raised me that way. From now on, it's my choices. And it doesn't mean, by the way, that if you trust somebody who's a idiot or whatever, you can't come back from that. But you can't blame him for making that choice. He was a grifter, he was whatever, but was she ever, if there is no coercion, you made that choice and you were an adult, so fuck you. Yeah,
that's pretty much. And I have sympathy for her, that relationship and all this, as much as you want to say, or the incident that happened, they just don't add up based on what I've seen to the level
of, it feels like she was abusing him.
Oh, 100%. That could have easily been
an old the case, who extra cash, and she basically thought, all right.
Oh yeah, he invested into the company. I forgot the number. He invested into the company, and then he became the CFO.
And then
but he invested
she had basically a mistress on the side. The whole thing feels like she was abusing you. I mean, look, I don't give a shit about either of them. They could both, fuck off. But I'm just saying, like, within that relationship, the abuser seems to be her, if anything. It's just,
and
so
and I mean,
odd.
you can
I can imagine her beating him with her harsh voice. You're an idiot. I don't know. I don't have to do that. Hard,
and she doesn't barely regrets much. She barely regrets much of it. In her court case, she over and over says should have done things differently.
Guilt.
Yeah, true. I guess. True. Yeah, you're right there.
I suppose. I think
to a certain extent.
Boston legal again, coming to my Boston legal knowledge of law.
Yeah, to a certain extent. But I mean, she is facing 20 years and stuff. And
how's the judge in the case? Because usually in US, the judges are complete like old men like senile, like
Nothing has come out.
semi here, there.
Nothing has come out much of the podcast. However, the jury, they're 8 men and 4 women, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
So I don't know if that plays a role because, if she's, maybe I'm being a bit
They
sexist
always
here, but
in movies they always tell they instruct the jury. The judge instructs the jury to disregard this that you heard, or disregard that in
Yeah.
media, because they should. But I don't know, can they do that? Like, how do you
Apparently.
legally enforce that? Like, I that's why, like,
They
people
did
were
this
always
too.
like going on about the jury system and all that, jury of the peers.
Yeah.
I always find the whole, like, first of all, I mean, I'm fantastic, I have no peers, but just for other people, even like for lesser people than me, I feel bad. Like, some of your peers are not great.
No, I know. And I mean, in her
Don't
case,
trust
the
them.
judge was saying that, was telling them, I heard in the podcast, like, when you go home, don't read about it, don't follow up about the thing. But based on like documentaries or
Aren't they
shows that I've
supposed to?
seen,
Yeah.
and exactly,
They
OJ Simpson
stay
ones, like
locked
they
down.
kept them in a hotel, right? But maybe they don't do it for all cases. You can't keep everybody left and
I
right.
suppose. No, but
Half
not
the
all
US is
cases
in a
go to
hotel.
jail,
I know,
though.
you're right.
Most
Oh yeah,
cases
no,
go
I
to.
know.
But
But
you're right, though. Yeah, don't follow. Don't
don't watch Spar&Brawl.
like. The judge really pulled it's the good marketing for us. That was money well spent, Camille. Money well spent. No, but it's just, how can you get away from it these days? It's just, I don't know.
I mean, especially hers is extremely publicized. I was telling you, like, people are showing up outside the court at 5 a.m. trying to get a seat and stuff like that. And people selling merchandise. But I would forgive her if she doesn't go to court. And I feel like there's a lot more stories here that we can have fun with, because
she doesn't go to jail.
It doesn't go to jail, sorry. And instead they remove all these because a lot of the stories that we've heard, they start emerging halfway through the company. But before that, her lawyers had also shut up a lot of other people through legal means. So maybe if they remove that and they let us have some more fun with their story, I'll let this one slide.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because the real thing is, as you say, I mean, the real fun of the cases like this, in my view, is, as you said, the Pfizer thing or stuff like that, which is a real peek behind the curtain of power, and just looking and seeing nobody's there, but just some like weird, neurotic, sort of multi-gendered person who's just going with them. I don't know. Like, that's what's happening there is nobody at the wheels of power. And it would be more, if they let us just let us for 1 week observe what the fuck is going on in Pfizer and who's making decisions on what basis, right? And then we let Elizabeth just and give us some peek into her internal. It's just because she should have been, the Truman Show should have been based on, like, do you remember that
seriously?
movie? Like, she would have been a fun character to do a reality show forever.
Exactly. And 100%. And the fact that her company was such a failure, it limited the number of victims, right? So some people did get some bad blood results and bad blood tests. But the fact
I remember there's this, some Iranians always say, Iran was so, like, we were so pathetic, we weren't even worth colonizing. It was just
So there's a bunch of like younger employees who went there who were like chased out and then had legal teams chasing them. I honestly feel bad for them. There's this other more senior guy. He actually ended up committing suicide, and his wife blames it on her and everything.
Why?
So there's because he didn't. But this one, this
How
one
old
is
was he?
Really old. This guy was old, like in his 60s or 70s, and he was head up there. But there were some younger ones who were just there for like a few months. They came and they're like, hey, listen, none of this shit that you're talking about is working. And then they leave. And even when they leave the work, she still had, she had one of the biggest law firms and all that working for her, which is also somebody else she's blaming on. She's like, I didn't know the law firm was so aggressive going after patients and going after.
By the way,
employees.
But I have no sympathy for employees as well. You sign a fucking NDA, you stick to it. I mean, I hate these people who
but I don't know.
All these people who is like you don't get a prize for stop being bad. you know.
But no, but I'm saying I'm feeling bad when you have, these, there's this person who's saying I was just making a little bit of money in my next job. And then I'm thinking there's this
Oh,
huge company coming after me, how am I going to fight off if it goes to court and all this, how, if you have a company who sends a team of lawyers after you, that can be, very scary. I mean, how are you going to, legal fees are off the roof since.
NDA?
No, this one, I don't know if it did, but anyway, I just want to say that there are some victims like that, if you want to say whatever you think it or not.
I mean, that's
And then,
really stretching the word victim there.
yeah, sure.
I thought,
in some, yeah, sure.
okay.
But then, the patients, some got bad test results, to some who I believe thought they had lost their child when they hadn't, and all that. But like I said, she pretended like she invented the craziest thing. It's like someone saying, I'm going to invent a flying car, and they show up with like a prototype that can barely run on go on normal roads with gas. Like, based on my understanding, that's how much of a failure this product was, right? Like, it was nothing.
Is it Goebbels or Goebbels? I'm mispronouncing his name. Or is it Himmler, one of the Nazi guys, one of them? When you lie, go big. The bigger you go, the more, like the more impressive it is. So just to clarify, though, the reason why I don't feel like at all sorry for these employees is that, by the way, where do they work now? Do you think? Like some other shitty startup that is basically like
not every company is that shitty. Not every company is that
like
big of a failure.
Like 90% of not failure. No. Yeah. I'm not talking about the company necessarily being incompetently run, but most of them are still active either in the same industry or similar industries that are equally like evil. And I don't care about like one time that you thought, all right, this one was especially evil. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, she's sometimes like, if people look into other people in Silicon Valley like they do, I mean, that's the first thing I said to you, if you recall. It's the run of the mill. Like all of them. Elon Musk is doing the same
stuff was medical stuff. Her stuff was medical stuff.
I accept that.
That's also the other thing, And Elon Musk, to be fair, he still has a car that, I've seen it on the streets. They run and people have.
I believe it's not a car anymore. It's been categorized as a werewolf because it changes shapes according to the size and the time of the month, the moon, and it's a werewolf technically now. And now you can buy werewolf coins all across, all in.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. These employees that go into tech companies like, oh, we thought we are gonna, do this. What? It's a company. What do you think they're gonna make money?
No,
that's what this is about.
I know,
money.
But they were, I know that, but I'm just saying, if you're a young employee and then, you get there and then you realize that everything you were told that is a lie, you're trying to, fix this product doesn't happen. Young? And then you send the young ones straight out of university and stuff. And then you have this billion-dollar company.
What's the point of university?
Who sends its legal team after you?
No, I'm sorry, but
I'm just trying to say that they're young. They have not. I had nothing to do with them being university. You asked how young they are. I was trying to tell you how young they could be. They came out of university.
No. All right, fair enough. They're not children. Fair enough. They're adults. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
And they're educated adults mostly.
But even if you're an adult,
well-educated.
Even if you're an adult and you have this billion-dollar company that sends its legal team after you to make sure that you're not saying anything and all that you're not speaking to journalists and that you're not doing anything. I don't know.
Did they say? Or not?
Yeah. 100%. No. What do you mean they said?
Fuck. So I'm sorry, they broached their NDA contract. They said.
Or that's if they had NDA. I don't even know if they had NDAs to begin with. I don't even. Some had and some didn't. Some do, and we haven't even heard their stories, I believe. But some perhaps didn't, and they didn't say anything.
All right. Okay. Let's clarify and be precise. If they had an NDA contract, if they broke that NDA contract because of some claim to some moral bullshit, I don't think that's true. I think they're lying.
Yeah,
If they had NDA contracts and they signed those, I'm sorry, but fuck you, don't break your NDA contract, and or don't sign it when you leave or when you begin work.
yeah, but I'm just
Take
saying I
some
understand the
responsibility.
stress of
You're an
having, yeah. And that's why I don't,
no, they're
yeah.
adults.
Yeah.
They're grown adults, and
I don't
again,
know.
if
And I
they
don't know exactly
anything,
who
if
had an
legal,
NDA
if
and who didn't. You know, I can't, there's like no way
I
of me
thought you're
going
the
and figure
legal
this thing out.
correspondent. Yeah, I thought you're the expert in this.
I
So
started with that
I feel
disclaimer.
bad now.
So I can't
I
know
feel
which.
bad if I'm being harsh to anybody who was
No,
illegally
but
or coercively but if there was nothing illegally or coercively done, those people are the same vultures that Elizabeth Holmes are. They just found Elizabeth Holmes now has become the body. So
no, I mean,
I
they
don't
thought
care.
it, I mean, the company, you know, at first it doesn't sound like they're doing the craziest thing. They were just supposed to have this more revolutionized way of getting blood
Robust
tests.
testing.
Yeah, like easier
I
way.
know.
Yeah, that was it,
But
you know,
what
so it's
I'm
not.
sorry, but when you go to, if you get hired by a publishing company, what do you think they do?
What do you mean?
They publish books. To
Yeah,
what? To what end?
to make money. But I mean, I don't think that's like a good
And then
analogy
wait.
or a
And then
good
suddenly if
parallel.
they start, no, it is, because if they suddenly start publishing, I don't know, very hateful books by right-wing people.
But that has nothing to do with you, though. That's like, and when you go sign by publisher,
Okay,
I
fair
don't
enough.
care who else they, you know, I can go and the next person can be whatever. I
No,
mean,
I'm sorry, but
I do find
I'm
it a
just
bit
saying,
different. And some of the other
you,
people, you know, some of the more senior
I
ones,
can,
I have less sympathy for them because one of them I heard, you know, they didn't leave this job because they didn't want to be unemployed for a while. You know, I don't know exactly which one that is, but of course that one I have far less sympathy. But for someone who recently, you know, joins and then tries to get out and, you know, gets out and then
okay,
you're getting, you know,
look,
you're
wait,
getting
we
followed
can
by
make,
this huge, because just getting a lawyer will cost you half your salary. You know,
I know,
people always
look,
say,
make,
oh,
yeah,
go sue this person, go sue that person.
but
Have you ever
that,
tried getting a hold of a lawyer? They won't answer your
sure,
phone call unless they know that you
I
have
know,
$500 the first day to just cover
I
that
know.
first hour.
Go criticize the precarious job market. Go criticize the over expensive lawyers. Go criticize the lack of public funding for lawyers, right? Go do all of that. But yeah, I take back my publishing example. That was really stupid. Now that I go back, it was one of those fucking analogies that some idiots use. So I really apologize for that. But
No worries.
I still think, I think if you get into a medical industry business, and I think she was so fucking transparent, just like
Oh
Elon
yeah,
Musk is now, by the way. And
100%
I'm
with you
sure in
there.
10 years, I'm sure in 10 or 15 years, we're gonna have all these documentaries coming out about, oh, how I got full. Can you believe everybody was talking about it? And then we're gonna have this montage of these edits of these articles. Elon Musk, the hero of the world, Elon Musk. And then, you know, retrospectively, they always change the narrative into, oh, it wasn't my fault. It was everybody was saying, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, above 18, grow the fuck up and take responsibility, unless something illegal. And again, go criticize the precarious job market, go criticize lack of public funding for lawyers. All of that has nothing to do with the other thing, which is they worked for a shitty company and then they signed the NDA, if they did sign an NDA. I don't know if that's true or not. And then what? Now they're complaining? Fuck off.
No, and they were, now they're not complaining. They were from the get-go, and a lot of the stories that came out were
Okay.
from one or
Don't
two
sign
of
them.
them. But yeah, and I mean, you know what you said though, one thing I don't have too much sympathy is how investors, and you know, actually it's one thing is funny, they specifically went after non-medical expert investors, so you know they could fool them. If you think about Murdoch and Bets, because all the big pharmaceutical
Good for
companies and
them.
all of them, they didn't believe him. But even other investors and stuff, you know, this was, and some people had this reaction. They're like, why you? You know, why are you able to create this? You know, you don't claim that you have the skills, right? No, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, let's forget about whether he took the idea from someone else or someone. He made that Facebook page, right? So if he made that, so he can claim I made that. But you don't know how to make this device. You don't know someone else who knows how to make this device. So why is it that you can make it and not Pfizer or blah 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 that has money coming out of the ass? So that's where I lose
Matt,
a lot of sympathy for a lot of people. I'm like, how did you
I
fall
have
for this? I
No,
don't know.
I mean, for the investors, I have some sympathy because at least you could say there is a legal technicality. I mean, the real victim, if there is a victim, is the people who did the test. But the
Mhm.
investor, yeah, exactly. I worked in a startup, as you know, and it was medical startup, a pharmacy startup, a pharmacy like for not even prescription for vitamins, not even OTC drugs, just vitamins and shit. And we had to like have this. We just hired basically these yeah, these useless pretty much doctors to be on our board just so we can say, okay, look at them, they're fucking like doctors and they know. Talk about vitamin. Go on, talk about vitamin C.
That's what she did.
Tell them
Except she
yeah.
didn't make it doctor. She got Secretary of States
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly. Yeah, so I don't like like I don't know what's the I mean, I really need to go rewatch your videos actually because I really want to understand what's the legal case against her because to me it seems like
Defrauding. Lying,
it seems
defrauding.
like well
She defrauded
I don't
investors
think
primarily.
in my view they
Yeah.
should like if she hasn't like it seems like a con and in a classic sense that a good con is a con that you give your money to the guy voluntarily and not illegally. You just give the money. And I would argue
But
like all of like Silicon Valley is a con, but this one, it seems
I
just, it was
believe
another one. I don't see the exact technicality that she got. Like,
it's that she
I
did it
guess
on
yeah.
purpose, actually. That's the whole thing.
Oh,
Because
I
you're
guess the
allowed to
whistleblowers, yeah, the
you're allowed to
whistleblowers would say that
defraud
she,
people accidentally. I believe, right? Like if you
yeah,
give me
exactly.
money and I really believe that I
Limited
can make this
liability.
and I'm making this, I'm
Yeah.
like, I was trying my best. What do you want me to do? I failed. Most companies failed.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
that's
thing
why
is
you have
with them, they want to
accounting
show that
transfer and
no,
all.
they reached this point after a few years, because she's still a company for 12, 15 years or something, where nothing was happening. And then it was just lies and knowing that, they're on purpose defrauding. So that's actually a thing. If I'm not mistaken, people know more. If you can't prove that you were defrauding on purpose, then it's
Yeah,
just like
no,
a
I got
failed
it. Now,
enterprise.
I guess, yeah, I guess it. I guess now whistleblowers and all these people are saying she always knew and all that. So, yeah, it's a bit complex. So, yeah, fair enough. Now I get it.
But yeah, so I'm gonna watch the closing arguments and stuff, and we'll see what happens. So maybe I'll make some more
Yeah, and I
videos.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know if any employees was actually harmed by her legal team or they were, I very much I hope I made my case in a very precise way so I don't generalize or anything. So yeah.
Yeah, and
I wanted to make that clarification.
my apologies if I misled you with the NDA stuff, because I don't know who signed NDAs and who didn't, because
All right.
from what I know from very early on, people were like leaving and, realizing that this is nothing for some reason or not, they were
Okay.
fooled in the first place. So there's a long history of people having left, and and she hired so many random people. She hired people from Apple designing companies, and the designers, I guess after a while they were thinking, they're like, why are you
What
even
are we doing
hiring
here?
us? Yeah. Like, why does the machine need to look like an iPhone? Like, since when do
Okay.
people care about
Yeah.
that and all this? And yeah, and they're also trying to say that she didn't sell her shares at any point when they had like over when it was worth so much. So she didn't try to defraud on purpose. And to me, that's a bit of bullshit, because if you have a company that hasn't made it yet and it's not public and fully, and you start selling your own shares, that will raise some eyebrows. People will be like, wait, why are you trying to get rid of the shares of your own company that you just started? So they're just trying to show that she was this innocent bystander girl who, who had this big dream of helping people, making it more humane and easy to get blood tests and all this. And everybody around her lied. All these big people on her board, which were, few secretary of states, like you just name it, the who's who were there. There's this
Oh, Mad Dog,
controlling,
Mattis,
yeah, this
the
him,
the Lion of Fallujah.
exactly, the line of
Google
Fallujah,
that for yourself.
who was fooled in 2 minutes. So they're just trying to say, yeah. But at the same time, they try
All
to
right.
rely on her intelligence during the case. So it's like always like there's like a balance. Like she's really dumb, and then she's suddenly articulate. Then she's really
Actually,
dumb.
You see that in movie narratives, though. That's the mad genius, right? That has
Mm,
one flaw, that has one blind spot. So
yeah.
it's easy to sell to people, I assume. I don't, but
But
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I thought this is gonna be more lighthearted than it became. But yeah,